Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are so glad to have you with us because today we are going to need some serious mental fortitude.
We really are.
I want to start this off by planting an image in your head that comes directly from our source material. And quite frankly, it's one that I haven't been able to shake since I first read it.
It is a vivid one, isn't it? Very memorable.
It really is. So I want you to picture a snow globe. You know, the type classic, peaceful, maybe there's a little ceramic village inside. It's all very contained and safe. Now, I want you to imagine taking that globe and just shaking it violently. But instead of snow swirling around, imagine it is filled with confetti, jagged bolts of lightning, and what the text describes as hellish mobiles made from disemboweled starships.
Wow. That is a visceral opening. And you're right, it's not hyperbole. That is the literal setting for today's deep dive.
It just sets the tone so perfectly. We are heading into the Rashanar Battle Site, which is known colloquially and very, very appropriately as the Boneyard.
Yeah, that name fits.
But we aren't just doing a tactical review of a starship graveyard. We were looking at a story that splits right down the middle into two distinct, really intense narratives that feel like they shouldn't work together, but somehow they absolutely do.
It's a bit of a genre clash, isn't it? It feels like smashing two completely different movies together.
Okay.
On one side, you have narrative A, and that's this metaphysical, almost spiritual, mind-bending journey of Wesley Crusher.
Right.
It deals with the evolution of consciousness, the nature of time itself, and the sheer agony of becoming something more than human.
And on the other side, narrative B. It's a straight-up haunted house story in space.
A haunted house, yeah. It's this gritty, noir-style mystery with Captain Picard and the Enterprise crew, and they're navigating this debris field that absolutely refuses to stay dead.
And what connects them? What's the tissue holding these two very different stories together?
It's the pervasive sense of loss. You have to remember, this story takes place in the aftermath of the Dominion War. The treaties are all signed, the parades are over, but the wreckage, both physical and psychological, remains.
So Rashanar is a wound that hasn't healed.
It's a gaping wound. It's a place where a massive, brutal engagement took place. And here is the statistic that should make your blood run cold. In the original battle at this site, there were 0 survivors.
Wait, 0, as in none?
0. Not one escape pod launched. Not a single distress signal that led to a successful rescue. Every single ship federation, Klingon, Jem'Hadar, you name it, they all fought until total, complete destruction.
That immediately sets up our locked room mystery, doesn't it? Why? Why the total annihilation? It doesn't make tactical sense.
Not at all, and that's what the Enterprise is there to find out. Their official mission is a 3-month tour to recover bodies and conduct scientific inquiry.
So recovery and investigation.
Right. But before we get to the nuts and bolts, and I mean that literally of the Boneyard, we have to talk about the character who is furthest away from it all, yet is arguably dealing with the heaviest emotional burden. We have to start with Wesley Crusher.
It's such a fascinating arc for him because for so many people, I think, Wesley is frozen in time. He's the teenager in that, that rainbow sweater on the bridge.
The acting ensign, yeah. But in this source material, he's 27 years old. He's been traveling with the Traveler, that interdimensional being, for 6 years now. He is not a kid anymore. He's become a witness to cosmic-level suffering.
And we find him on a dying planet. The description here is just, it's so bleak. It's desolate, right?
Utterly. There's a gaunt woman just scrounging for roots in this irradiated soil, and Wesley is just standing there watching her.
Which has to be torture for him.
It's what's called his final trial. The Traveler has essentially one prime directive. Observe, but do not interfere.
And Wesley is watching a civilization that was completely crushed by the Dominion War. And he has the power to fix it. He has these Traveler abilities now. He could practically snap his fingers and purify the water or heal the sick.
But he isn't allowed to.
For someone raised in Starfleet, that has to be absolute agony. To help is in their DNA. It's probably the first thing you learn at the academy.
And it breaks him a little. In fact, he actually cheats. He can't help himself. He intervenes just a fraction. He hugs the woman, he calls her mother in a moment of delirium, and he convinces her to go with a relocation team.
So he does interfere.
A tiny bit. But afterwards, the conversation he has with the Traveler is brutal. Wesley admits that living without danger, just watching from the sidelines, is exhilarating and weakening.
That phrase really...
The Traveler realizes that Wesley is finally ready for the next step. The borning.
The borning. It sounds almost cult-like, but in this context, it's more metaphysical, right?
It's an evolutionary leap. To become a full traveler, Wesley has to merge his consciousness with their collective.
What does that even mean?
Imagine downloading the entire internet, but instead of data, it's the raw emotional experience of every sentient being the travelers have ever observed.
Oh, wow. The text describes it as spiders weaving webs by day and tearing them apart at night. It sounds like this chaotic, violent assault on the senses.
It is absolute sensory overload. He's drowning in these images of war, joy, failure, triumph, all happening simultaneously, all at once.
So how does he survive that? How does he not just go insane?
To anchor himself, to keep from being swept away by this psychic torrent, he has to look backward. He has to focus on his own past. So he visits his mother, Beverly Crusher.
But not as he knows her now.
No. He visits her in the past when she was a child. The text says her name was Lendl. Yeah, maybe a childhood name or a nickname in this vision. But he sees her as a little girl chasing a soap bubble in a meadow.
That's so specific. Why that moment?
It represents fragility. The bubble is beautiful, perfect, and then it pops. The child is innocent. It's Wesley saying goodbye to his own lineage.
He's seeing her before all the tragedy.
Exactly. Before she becomes Dr. Crusher, before she loses her husband Jack, before she loses him. And the traveler tells him very bluntly, you can't go home again. You can visit these moments, but you are now an outsider to the human timeline. You're just a ghost.
It's the ultimate severing of the cord, isn't it?
It is. But the real kick in the teeth, the part of this segment that actually stressed me out reading it is what comes next. The pool of prophecy.
This is the final test.
This is the final test. To leave humanity behind for good, he has to see the future and accept deep down that he cannot change it. So he looks into this pool, and he sees the Enterprise.
A ship he has never even been on? He's never set foot on it.
Correct. But he sees familiar faces, his mother, his old friends from the Enterprise D, and he hears the computer's voice. Auto-destruct sequence in progress.
And Wesley reacts like the old Wesley.
Oh, yeah. He screams, Mom, wait. He tries to warn them to do something.
That he's incorporeal. He can't do anything.
He's a ghost in the machine. He's forced to watch the ship explode. The text describes it as a monstrous fireball. He sees the saucer section disintegrate. He watches everyone he's ever loved die in vivid, horrific detail.
And the lesson isn't go save them. That's not the point of the vision.
No. The lesson is watch this. Do nothing.
That is incredibly dark.
It's the paralysis of the witness. The idea is that to gain this cosmic wisdom, you have to lose the impulse to save the individual. It's a horrifying trade-off. And while Wesley is floating in this metaphysical nightmare, dealing with the abstract concept of death,
Captain Picard and his crew are about to face the literal, gritty, and very physical reality of it. So let's jump from the metaphysical to the physical. Let's go to the Boneyard. The Enterprise arrives at Rashanar. And the visual description here is it's industrial horror.
it is a visual feast of destruction. The debris field is massive. You've got thousands of Hulk's Dominion bug ships, Cardassian cruisers, Federation saucers, all just grinding together.
And there's a mysterious gravity sink
Yeah.
in the center of it all.
Right, so it's not just floating there statically, it's swirling.
It's active.
It's an active vortex of twisted metal. Ships are colliding constantly, sparking, shearing off hull plating. It's dynamic and it's incredibly dangerous.
And guarding the gates of this hell is Captain Leeton, the starship Juno.
Yeah.
Leeton seems intense. Let's talk about her.
She is the gatekeeper. And you have to understand, she's been station keeping there for a full year.
A year just staring at that.
A year staring at dead ships. So yeah, she's haggard, she is stressed out, and she is incredibly territorial about this place. To her, Rashanar isn't a research site, it's a cemetery.
And she clashes with Picard almost immediately, doesn't she?
It's a fundamental conflict of philosophy. Leeton's mandate is, leave no man behind. She's there to recover bodies, identify them, send them home to their families. That is the sacred duty as she sees it.
And Picard arrives with orders for scientific inquiry.
Right. He wants to know why all these ships died. He's looking for answers. And to Leeton, that feels like desecration. She basically tells him, don't touch anything, just get the bodies and get out.
And she's the one who warns him about the ghosts.
She does. She tells him the place is haunted. And she is not speaking metaphorically. She talks about strange anomalies, ships moving on sensors when they shouldn't be, sensors just plain lying. She's spooked.
But Picard is a man of science, so he hears ghosts and immediately thinks unexplained phenomena.
Of course. He respects her trauma, you can see that, but he's convinced there has to be a rational, scientific explanation for everything she's seen.
So in true Enterprise fashion, they decide to go in and investigate for themselves.
They do, and this leads to what I can only call the Calypso incident.
Oh, this is a low point for the captain. It's fascinating because it completely strips away that hero armor we usually see.
It really does. So let's set the scene. Picard takes his shiny new captain's yacht, the Calypso. This is a top-of-the-line auxiliary craft, state-of-the-art.
And he takes the A-Team with him.
He grabs Data and Geordi, right, the A-Team, and they head out to check on a wrecked Galaxy-class ship, the Asgard.
Just seeing the Asgard has to be traumatic in itself. It's a sister ship to the Enterprise D. It's like seeing your own ghost.
Exactly. Walking through its gutted corridors is like walking through the corpse of their old home. 10 Forward is smashed to pieces. The bridge is stripped bare. It brings all those memories of the generation's crash just flooding back for them.
But they aren't alone on the wreck.
No, not at all. They stumble upon squatters, scavengers, specifically a group of Androssi. These are opportunistic looters who are literally living inside the wreck, splicing into what's left of the power systems.
And this is where we meet Gissel.
Gissel is such a fantastic antagonist because she's not a warrior. She is a con artist.
She's a trickster.
A total trickster. When Picard finds her, she plays the victim perfectly. She feigns an injury. She cries about her restraints being too tight. And Picard, being the gentleman explorer, he leans in to check on her well-being.
He lets his guard down for just a second.
For just a second. And then she sneezes on him.
I'm sorry, she what?
A wet, misty sneeze. Right in his face.
You're kidding.
Nope. And it's not a cold, it's a biological weapon. It's a fast-acting muscle toxin. Picard goes down instantly. He is fully conscious, staring up at the ceiling, but he is completely paralyzed.
That is so undignified.
It is humiliating. Gissel literally steps over his frozen body, cracks the airlock, and her partner helps her steal the Calypso. They steal the captain's yacht while he's lying there helpless, literally drooling on the deck.
They essentially carjacked Jean-Luc Picard.
They did. And later there's this great scene where Picard confesses to Dr. Crusher that it really shook him. He felt too old or arrogant. He let his guard down because he totally underestimated the desperation that defines life in the Boneyard.
But this wasn't just a joyride, was it? The Androssi didn't just want a fancy shuttle.
No, this is part of a much, much bigger heist.
Okay, so what's their plan?
The Androssis are running a massive salvaging operation. Gissel takes the Calypso, rigs it with these big, ugly photon torpedoes, which she just crudely welds onto the hull, and she uses it as a tugboat.
A tugboat for what?
They are trying to steal an entire Romulan warbird. The Romdrex.
The Deradix class.
What?
Those things are the size of cities. How can they tow that?
Well, they're not fast. They're using what the text calls mimicry tactics. They're drifting without power, making themselves look like just another piece of space junk, and they're slowly, painstakingly trying to tow this massive warship right out from under Starfleet's nose.
So the Boneyard is basically the Wild West.
It's the Wild West. You've got the Sheriff, which is Starfleet, who's completely overwhelmed, and then you have the bandits, who are just stripping the copper wiring off of everything they can find.
But it isn't just bandits out there, is it? You also have the deputies acting really weird. Let's talk about the Ontalians.
The Ontalians, yes, Federation members, supposedly allies, but they are odd.
Describe them for us. What do they look like?
They're completely non-humanoid. The source describes them as sloth-like creatures. They don't sit in chairs like we do. They hang from these elaborate trellises inside their ships.
So their ships must look strange, too.
Their ships look like giant flying jungle gyms, like interconnecting trellises moving through space.
Space sloths on jungle gyms. That is a vibe.
It is, but their behavior is not lovable at all. They're incredibly secretive, evasive. Troy, the ship's counselor, she senses this powerful wave of deception just radiating off them every time they interact.
And they're supposed to be helping patrol the Boneyard.
They are, but they keep disappearing. They'll just vanish into pockets of sensor interference for hours at a time.
Which naturally leads Riker and Troy to do a little off-the-books spying.
Of course. Riker decides to take a shuttle and shadow the Ontalian flagship, the Vuxel, and they catch them red-handed.
Doing what?
The Vuxel dumps a pod into the debris field. At first, it just looks like they're dumping garbage, but Riker sensors read it as an antimatter storage pod.
Why would you dump antimatter in a debris field? That seems incredibly volatile.
Extremely. And sure enough, the pod destabilizes and creates this subspace vortex. Riker and Troy almost get sucked in and crushed.
But they get out.
The Ontalians swoop in at the last possible second, tractor them out, and save their lives.
Okay, so they're heroes then. They save them.
You would think so. But when Riker confronts the Ontalian captain later, they completely deny it ever happened.
Boy.
They deny the pod existed, they deny the vortex, they deny the rescue, they claim that their ship wasn't even in that sector at that time.
That is gaslighting on a galactic scale.
It creates this intense paranoia for the Enterprise crew. Why are your allies lying to you? What are they hiding? Are they secretly alluding to, or is there something else going on entirely?
And this isn't the first weird thing with them, right?
Yeah. No, because there was also mention earlier of an antimatter asteroid that supposedly destroyed another Ontalian ship, an incident which, you guessed it, they also denied ever happened.
So you have allies lying to allies, you have scavengers stealing entire warships, and you have Picard just trying to get a handle on it all.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the climax of the mystery. The thing that finally ties the ghosts, the lies, and all those dead ships together.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the Mimic.
This is the reveal. This is the moment the genre shifts from mystery to straight-up survival horror.
So what happens?
Data and Geordi are out in a shuttle, the Hudson. They're hunting for the stolen Calypso.
They're trying to get Picard's yacht back.
And they find it. In fact, they find two of them.
Two? How is that possible?
Two identical Calypsos just floating there, side by side in the void.
Identical how?
Identical visual signatures, identical mass readings, even the little scratches on the paint job are perfectly duplicated.
Geordi said that's impossible.
It is impossible, and before they can even process it, they get hit by something. A high-pitched whine cuts through their comms. It's some kind of directed energy weapon, but it targets very specific frequencies. It shuts down their shuttle completely. It overloads Geordi's ocular implants, blinding him instantly, and it shuts off data.
It turns the android off. I didn't think that was possible.
It severs his motor control. His body goes completely inert. But, and this is such a cool deep dive into Data's mind, his consciousness stays active.
So he's trapped in his own body.
He's ejected from the shuttle during the chaos, and he's just floating in space, totally paralyzed, and he starts having a memory cascade.
Like his life flashing before his eyes.
Exactly like that. He sees Tasha Yar, he sees his creator, Dr. Soong, he sees his evil brother, Lore. It's his programming trying to make sense of what it perceives as death. But because he's a machine, he is also recording everything he sees.
And what does he see while he's floating there?
He watches the fake Calypso change.
Describe that. How does a starship change?
The source describes it like a flower opening. The hull expands, it shifts, it reconfigures itself, it changes color, it changes mass. He watches it morph from the small Federation yacht into the massive trellis-like structure of the Ontalian ship, the Vuxol.
It's a shapeshifter. A doppelganger starship.
A mimic. Data theorizes it scans a target with some kind of blue beam down to the molecular level and then physically rearranges its own structure to become a perfect, functioning copy.
That is terrifying. That is the thing, but as a starship.
It's the ultimate predator in this environment. And think about the implications for the Boneyard. It suddenly explains everything. Why were there no survivors in the original battle?
Because you couldn't trust anyone. You couldn't trust what you were seeing.
Exactly. Imagine you're in a massive firefight. Suddenly, your wingman, the ship flying right next to you, opens fire on your engine. But is it a traitor? Or is it the mimic? You try to hail them, but they don't answer. You try to surrender to an enemy, but the enemy just changes shape and kills you.
So every ship fought to the death because paranoia was the only possible survival strategy.
The ghosts that Captain Leiden was so afraid of, they were real. They just weren't supernatural. They were technological.
A leftover weapon.
Probably. Something from the Dominion, maybe based on protoplasmic technology, like the founders themselves, that now operates on pure predatory instinct.
And we see that instinct in action almost immediately, don't we? The mimic still disguised as the Vuxol intervenes in the Androssi situation.
Right. Just as the Enterprise has the Androssi cornered, the scavengers are about to surrender to Picard, this is all about to be over, and then the Vuxol swoops in.
And Picard thinks it's the real Ontalians arriving to help.
He does, but the Vuxol just opens fire.
It just blows them up, even though they were surrendering.
Total, utter destruction. It obliterates the Androssi ship, no questions asked.
Why? What's the motive?
It's not a tactical disable, it's a murder. The mimic is removing witnesses. It saw the Androssi, it saw the Enterprise, and it is cleaning the board. It's aggressively protective of its own existence.
That explains why the real Ontalians were acting so weird.
Exactly. That antimatter asteroid that supposedly destroyed one of their ships earlier, that was probably the Mimic. The real Ontalians were confused, they were scared, and they were trying to cover up their losses because they didn't understand what was happening either. They were being gaslit by a predator that wore their own face.
Okay, so Data is floating in space. He has seen the monster change. How does he possibly survive?
Data is the ultimate survivor. Even paralyzed, even drifting in a cloud of debris, he manages to reboot enough of his core systems to regain some function. He snags a piece of wreckage from the destroyed Androssi ship.
And he just rides it.
He literally surfs the gravity currents in the boneyard. He manages to hack together a distress signal using scavenged parts from the debris. He's eventually rescued by Riker and the Hudson crew.
You just can't keep a good android down?
No, you can't. And as soon as he's back on board the Enterprise, he spills the beans, he explains the Mimic, and suddenly, the whole sensor mystery, the ghosts, the friendly fire incidents, it all clicks into place.
But knowing is only half the battle, isn't it? Because now, the Enterprise has to face this thing.
And that is exactly where the source material leaves us hanging. The Enterprise is staring down the Vuxel. But is it the real ally? Or is it the Mimic?
And their sensors are failing?
The sensors are failing, the enemy is on an intercept course, and if it gets close enough to scan the Enterprise...
It could become the Enterprise.
Imagine fighting an enemy ship that matches your shielding frequencies, your weapon yields, your tactical maneuvers perfectly. Because it is you.
That ties back so beautifully to the Wesley narrative, doesn't it, when you stop and think about it?
It really does. Look at the parallel. Wesley has to look into the pool of prophecy and watch the Enterprise get destroyed in order to transcend his humanity. He has to accept the loss of self on a cosmic scale.
And Picard.
Picard has to face a distorted mirror of his own reality. He might have to destroy a ship that looks like a friend, or even looks like his own ship, in order to ensure his crew's survival. Both narratives are about confronting a false reality and finding the truth underneath, no matter how painful that truth is.
It also completely reframes the boneyard itself. Captain Leeden wanted to treat it as a sacred shrine.
Yeah.
But you can't build a shrine on top of an active landmine.
That is the hard truth of it. Leeden was trying to honor the past. Picard realizes that the past, in the form of this leftover Dominion weapon, is still actively trying to kill them. Sometimes honoring the dead means you have to destroy the battlefield.
Which Picard actually suggests at the end, doesn't he? He has a radical idea.
He does. He suggests just vaporizing all the remaining wrecks, a scorched earth policy, or I guess scorched space. He says, tear down this haunted cemetery.
To stop the Mimic, you have to take away its hiding places.
You have to take away its ability to camouflage. You have to let the dead ships go.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway here? I mean, we've had space sloths, shape-shifting ships, and a whole lot of metaphysical angst.
I think it comes down to the nature of haunting. We often think of ghosts as, things from the past that won't leave us alone, memories or regrets. But in this story, the ghost is an active, physical threat.
It's not passive.
Not at all. It's a warning that if you don't properly deal with the fallout of your wars, whether they are galactic conflicts or, personal struggles, that wreckage will fester. It will morph into something new and monstrous.
The debris field of our own lives doesn't just sit there quietly.
It doesn't. And it might just learn to mimic you. It might use your own face to take you down.
That is a cheerful thought to end on.
Well, it is a deep dive. We go to the bottom, even if it's dark down there.
True enough. And what about Wesley? I have to ask this as our final thought. Is the price of cosmic wisdom always losing your humanity? Do you have to stop caring to see the big picture?
I don't think so. I think Wesley's journey suggests that you don't stop caring, but the scale of your caring has to change. He has to learn to care about the fate of the entire universe, not just his mom on this one particular starship.
And that transition is painful.
That transition looks a lot like grief. It's the death of the self to make way for something bigger.
Exhilarating and weakening.
It's a perfect description of growing up, isn't it?
Well, on that note, we are going to leave the Enterprise facing down its doppelganger. Be careful out there. If you happen to see a snow globe filled with lightning, maybe just walk the other way.
And check your sensors. Twice.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Until next time.
Safe travels.